fuel subsidy removal has become a recurring issue in Nigeria. Even for us, the media, it sounded like a broken record. We keep talking about this. And our successive governments in the country have interfaced with this issue as they attempt to reform the country and the petroleum downstream to reduce corruption, waste, and make the sector more effective. However, fuel subsidy removals have always met oppositions from the citizens and civil society organizations. In March last year, government had announced removal of subsidy, which experts describe as a scheme in favor of the rich with high consumption levels. But the development met a deadlock in January this year, given the adjustments in pump price of fuel. Since the increase in the global price of crude oil, there have been expectations that the retail pump price of fuel will rise following an increase in the landing cost of petrol from an average of 143 naira 60 kobo in December to 231 naira 98 kobo per litre as of June 16 this year. This seems that petrol subsidy re-emerged earlier this year as the government did not allow the pump price of the product to reflect the significant rise in oil prices, and the sector has not been fully deregulated. I have joining me live via Zoom to discuss this as we address concerns about the entire sector is the Chairman and Chief Executive Officer of International Energy Services Limited, Dr. Diron Fawibe. Good afternoon, Dr. Fawibe. Thank you very much for joining us on the show.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon.
Yes, let me start with what it's playing out in the oil market before we go to subsidy and other issues. Amidst fears, the price of crude is still looking very good, despite all of the challenges with OPEC Plus. And what do you make of all of this? Though there will be another meeting, but they've not been able to reach an agreement, and the price seems to be on the high side. Some say this might be a good time for shale oil producers.
Well, yes, yeah, you are right in terms of OPEC not being able to reach agreement as to what should be the level of production, because the major contention is that of production level. You know, OPEC postponed, postponed lifting the restriction on oil production through July. And now the contention is whether there should be increase in production of running to about 200 to 500,000 barrels per day. And the contention is that the level of production now is what is making for increase in the price of oil. There are a number of countries that are currently agitating for increase in production. Russia is number one. They've always taken the position of increasing the level of production, having regard to their own financial needs. Saudi Arabia took a very good decision early part of this year by cutting back production by 1 million barrels per day, and that helped to reduce the glut in the oil market. Iran is expected to have increase in production, but the issue has been that of the nuclear talk, nuclear deal talk that has not progressed to the expected level or to reasonable level, whereby they can lift sanctions on Iran, and that will pave way for increasing their production of close to about 500,000 barrels per day. Nigeria, for example, could make do with increase in production, because the current level of 1.48 million barrels per day, which Nigeria produced during the month of June, is not good enough for our financial needs. And normally, Nigeria should be producing close to about 2 million barrels per day. But right now, we are producing far less than that level. So the price of oil will continue to rise if oil production, is not relaxed to the point that it can stem the tide of price increase. There are certain elements factors we have to consider here. Many countries want the price to rise up to a level that will prevent U.S. oil shale gas to be competitive with OPEC crude, because in the past, the shale gas tend to take some of the erode the market of some OPEC countries. And Saudi Arabia was very vocal, about this, that they would never give way to U.S. taking their own market share, particularly in Asia. So for that reason, the price of oil, if it remains high, we encourage U.S. shale producers to come to the market, and that way take some of the shares of OPEC producers, in the market. So, but at the same time, the price of oil should be up to a level that will not cause economic dislocation in the various countries. But one factor that is very important, which many countries are holding on to, is the Delta variant of COVID, because of this COVID variant, the restriction is still being imposed in some countries, even in Asia, for example. Now, Europe, if we look at what is going on in UK, with effect from second half of this month, they may be lifting some restrictions, and that will mean that there will be more demand for oil as a result of movement of people, and that will be the same in some other European countries. U.S. is also witnessing increased activities, as a result of improved situation with COVID. So COVID is a major factor determining whether the production will be relaxed, and also what will happen to price. And if there's a major increase in demand for oil in Asia, in China, for example, or India, then OPEC will have a good ground to relax production, and then the price of oil can then be stabilized. But OPEC will never restrain from stabilizing the price of oil and maintaining the balancing of demand and of the supply and demand of oil.
It's a good way to start. Thanks for explaining that and letting us understand that very clearly. Now, but some are also saying that as we move on in the year, additional outputs could actually cool off prices. That's as we move on in the year. What do you project? What are you looking at for the market, the oil market in 2021, following all of these challenges?
Well, there are a few factors, some of which the earlier on. What is the status of COVID, in the consuming countries? The developing countries, don't reckon very much in this regard, but we should look at industrialized countries, North America, Asia, and Europe. Now, the level of demand for oil in these regions will determine how the price of oil will fare. Now, currently we are witnessing summer in consuming countries, and ordinarily during summer there should be increase in demand for oil, especially light crude. But for the COVID, that is restricting movement of people and also activities. So that is why the price of oil cannot actually be projected without underlying considerations. So the price of oil may go up to about $80 per barrel, all things being equal. But many analysts were talking about $100 per barrel. I don't see that happening, especially if there is an increase in production by OPEC. And it's not in the interest of OPEC that the price of oil goes as high as $100 per barrel. For one reason, that is the issue of the shale gas, taking some shares of OPEC countries, in the market. Now, currently the shale gas the production of shale gas have been restricted as a result of low demand for oil. But that was when the price of oil was around $50–60 per barrel. But now, with the increase in the price of oil running to 70 and over 70, you can bet that the shale gas producers in US will start to warm up, to going back to the field with a view to putting their products into the market. So for that reason, OPEC will have to be watching this very, very closely. But I can see that during the latter part of this year, we may be having close to about 80, if not $90 per barrel. $100 per barrel is a possibility, but a lot will still depend on the level of demand for oil, which also depends on the state of COVID in the consuming countries, Asia, Europe, and North America.
Oh, all right. Now, when we talk of high price for crude, we also, on the other part, we know that that's going to affect the price of PMS down here in Nigeria, because we still continue to import our petroleum products. Now, the issue of subsidy now comes to play, because as we get more money for government, we also have to subsidize the price of PMS at the pump. Let me ask you this way. What's your reaction to all that has been playing out with deregulating the downstream? There's been a lot of issues. The NNPC has been pushing, the ministry pushing. Labor on one side is saying, no, we need to settle and put all of this on the table. What do you make of this, and how sustainable is for government paying this heavy amount every month?
Well, as far as the price of products in Nigeria is concerned, which of course has to rise on the back of the increase in the price of crude oil, which of course affects the price of imported products into Nigeria. I've always said this: we cannot eat a cake and have it. In other words, if the price of crude oil goes on in the market, and given the fact that we are importing practically every liter of product we consume in Nigeria, then the suppliers of product will not sympathize with our position here. So we have to pay for more. Now, it said that government absorb this in terms of subsidy, or we pass the increase in the price, to consumers. Now, the Nigerian government, the federal government is very careful about this, because it's a serious political issue, especially at this time when Nigerians are on the receiving end of poverty and so many other problems, plaguing the country. So if the price of oil products goes up, obviously the labor union, they have seized this factor as a major issue, and they would now be in contention with government, and you can now see that the polity will be heated up. The labor union can easily go on strike, and government will not want that. And that is why Nigerian government, federal government, has been very careful in authorizing or approving increase in the price of gasoline. This does not apply to diesel as well as kerosene, substantially. So for that reason, the price of petrol will continue to remain where it is, presently, until government now has the courage to say that enough is enough. We have to pass some of the price to some of the increase in the price of petroleum product, to consumers. But the good news is that if the price of crude oil is going up, in the world market, and then we are producing reasonable level, then we could be able to provide a buffer, for the subsidy. Subsidy has been a major issue in Nigeria for a number of years. But I would say this, that the end is very close, whereby if Dangote refinery comes on stream, probably in another 6 months or thereabout, then we may witness a change in the situation. That they used to say, shortly before dawn is the darkest. The price of products now, if ever it is increased, we should take it as the darkest period, when it comes to the price of oil. And then the dawn of it will come when Dangote refinery comes on stream. I'm not saying that the Dangote refinery will now be selling the oil at a very cheap level, because and I expect the government, DPR, and NNPC to currently start to work on the price framework that we apply to the price of petroleum product when we start to get a product from Dangote refinery, because we should not consider it as a giveaway price that Dangote will be selling the product coming from that refinery. But at the same time, we cannot expect it to be on the same level with international product prices, because now we will be refining Nigerian crude. Whatever, we don't know the arm's length transaction that will characterize the supply of crude oil to Dangote refinery. But some elements that will influence the increase of price of product, imported into the country, will certainly not apply to Dangote refinery. So on that basis, we can expect that the price of product will stabilize more than currently. But more importantly, Nigeria will no longer be spending a huge sum of foreign exchange on imported fuel, which is currently the case. In the past, we used to say Nigeria federal government spent as much as 32% of the foreign exchange earnings on importing petroleum products. If Dangote refinery is operating now, with comes on stream, there will be some savings in terms of foreign exchange, and that will boost the revenue of government. And then that foreign exchange portion, whatever reduction it is, can be spent in some other critical things, for the country in terms of importation. So the price of product now, whatever it is for the next 6 months or 9 months, Nigeria will have to bear it. Either government continue to absorb it in terms of subsidy, or if at a point government passes that to Nigerian consumers, then it will be that there is the end to this suffering is in sight. When we start to have locally produced petroleum products.
Let's wrap up on this, Dr. Fawibe. Finally, after almost 20 years, the PIB has been passed, and a lot of reactions have been coming in following this development. But the focus is at the moment now is on the host community and frontier exploration issues. What's your reaction to this?
Well, the special advisor to the president on National Assembly did say a few days ago that the harmonized PIB will be presented to the president probably next week, which in effect means that all the issues concerning disagreement in the legislature in National Assembly will have been resolved. And one of such issues is the issue of host community fund. Now the Senate passed 3% for the host community, while the House of Representatives passed 5%. Even though the host communities we were demanding 10%, but we have to remember also that the executive recommended 2.5%. This is one issue that I believe will be harmonized, before the clean bill is presented to the president next week or whatever time it is ready. And I expect that, given the reaction of many people, in the last 1 week or thereabout, I think the National Assembly committee that will harmonize this issue should consider probably about 5%. I'm not too sure the bill will go to the president with 10%. But like I've always said, whatever percentage is approved at the end of the day, there must be judicious management of this fund, because we've seen in the past the monies allocated from various sources to Niger Delta, either in form of the derivation or ecological fund, has not been properly managed. And so we need to change the landscape of Niger Delta for good. it once and for all, so that that community, that area will witness the dividends of democracy. In terms of frontier exploration fund, me personally, I'm not happy about this, because it's not in terms of even the whole concept of passing legislation for frontier exploration for as 30% of NNPC limited fund is not the right thing to my own mind, simply because if we look at it in terms of corporate arrangement, a corporate, when we make NNPC limited a corporate commercial entity, it means that that company should be able to decide its affairs based on commercial considerations that will not be political in nature. Now, in the, presently, the frontier exploration, whatever level of exploration that is going on there, used to be done by NNPC based on allocation that NNPC can either appropriated or not appropriated. But in the new arrangement, there will be no spending of money by the commercial, by NNPC Limited. You know, the way that allocation is being made now to frontier exploration, and that is why already they were talking about 30%. Is 30% not too much for that kind of activity? But why should we prescribe it in law and legislated upon it? You know, which is it should be left to the discretion of the board of NNPC Limited to decide what percentage of NNPC profit should be allocated to frontier exploration. I'm not criticizing frontier exploration per se. I'm talking about legislating the percentage. 30%, a whole 30% for this activity. It should be left to the discretion of NNPC Limited to decide what percentage year in, year out that could be allocated to frontier exploration. And more importantly, couldn't we allocate such funds to alternative energy sources that will have immediate impact in the northern part of the country? You know, why should it be frontier exploration that over the years we have not been able to have anything to show for so much billions of dollars that have been assigned to this activity? So these are the fundamental issues that you see that should need to be corrected in the PIB. But as it is, I'm not too sure whether this issue will be taken up seriously. But if it can be taken up by the Committee of National Assembly through the harmonization, it will be good. Otherwise, it will be left for future government to consider this and take appropriate decision at that point in time.
It's a very good way to leave it. We've been speaking to Chairman and Chief Executive Officer of International Energy Services Limited, Dr. Diron Fawibe. Thank you very much for spending your afternoon with us, and do have a great weekend.
Thank you very much, and take care.
All right.